When did you all develop this long term view? Because you said even before you started investing, you knew enough to start saving and you knew enough to not spend everything that you earn. But that's not the case for a lot of people. I know when I first got some money, I was balling all the way to debt. Tens and thousands of dollars worth of debt. Because listen, it was the first time I had some money and I was going to spend it. So where did y'all get this mindset from?
I say, really, that comes from our mother. She did two things that I'm not sure she really meant to do it, but she was teaching us some lessons. One, she always told us your manners will take you further than your money. So she said, look, it's better for you to be nice rather than think you're going to get everything just because you make some money. So we mainly focused on our manners more than our money. And then two, as twins, it was twice as expensive to raise us than it would be a single child. And we always wanted something new, something cool. But my mother was like, listen, I'm going to dress you a certain way. I'm going to make sure your clothes are clean. I'm going to make sure you are nice. Other than that, I can't promise you, just because the paycheck wasn't going further, you're not going to be able to get name brands all the time. You're not going to be able to floss all the time. And I think because, and she also dressed us alike. So right there, dressing us alike, you stand out, but you also get made fun of. So she gave us a thick skin and made us able to take, we didn't have to keep up with the Joneses, and if we even got laughed at, we were able to take it. So with that, we didn't feel the pressure that once we got some money, we need to go out and start balling.
Yeah, and when you don't have the money, you have time to dream, right? You have time to dream long term about what you really want to pursue. So when that money comes in, you're going to be more cautious on how you're going to use it. So we were never frivolous with money. We were more frugal people. So it's like, okay, if the money's not here, what I can do is plan. And when that money comes in, I can use that money to help push my plans to fruition.
And you know what? When talking about money and what we saw right away, there was two things that we saw because we grew up on one side of town, and then when we got into the working world, we saw another side. When we were growing up, money was always an issue. It was a source of fights, source of crime, things like that. But when you see people sitting down next to you, where money is a source of pride, source of opportunity, you start understanding how they're not dressing so much and focusing their money on that. They were checking their house prices. They were checking their investments. And he said, oh, this guy is wearing, like, I can't tell you how many people I work with were giving their kids hand-me-downs because they said that's not where the money's going to be. They were putting it away towards assets. And that gave us another way to see things too.
So what's your advice there? Because again, you're working at a prestigious place and you would think that, everybody's driving Benzes and Bentleys and Beamers, but you're saying, you saw people uh, having the mindset of collecting assets, not liabilities. How can we adapt that in our own lives?
I mean, for me, it would say be intentional where you're going to put your money. Put your money into income producing assets, not liabilities. And all that glitter is not gold. It's very easy to get yourself into debt with things that you might consider an asset, maybe like a car or so. But those things are not going to what's going to take you in the long run. And I saw that I was working with millionaires. Nadia was working with millionaires. And it was some of the most plain Jane people when it came to dressing in their cars that you wouldn't believe. And these guys could rock all those nice things.
Exactly. But if you take a step back, the ones who were being scared about letting go, those were the ones that were driving around in the nicer cars, had the bigger houses and had the kids in private school. So it's more about balancing it out. What do you want more in your life? Do you want to be stressed out about money, or do you want your money to work for you?
So talk to us about how you all then became asset collectors based upon what you all were seeing and what you all were learning. What type of assets did you all begin to collect?
Well, in addition to starting to invest in a 401k, I bought a building for the same price I could have bought a single family home, right? So that allowed me to start house hacking, started making passive income, and that helped me build up my net worth and started adding to my security deposit so that if I wanted to start leaving, I have more of a safety net to do that. So I was very intentional about I'm planning my way out, and this is the way I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it differently. I'm not spending my money on a single family home because that requires it to come from me only, and that requires me to make sure I maintain a job. So I went the other route, buying a building, have a couple of apartments. They pay me, they pay the mortgage, and it gives me a little more freedom to do and give more choices in my life.
At one point, she was living rent free because she house hacked so well. And when I saw Nadia doing that, I wasn't able to buy a building at the time, but I did buy a multifamily. And then I focused more on buying stocks and investments that gave me dividends. And I'm not sure of how many people that listen are understanding what dividends are. Basically, dividends is just paychecks that companies give you just for holding their stock. So I did not have to be that risky to do it. I just focused on income producing. And it is passive income. Dividends are passive income, and it's the only way to make it in the stock market. So just focusing on that allowed me to buy something that had the potential of growing in terms of the price of the stock going up, but provide me with income just for holding it. So those two in combination, along with, being good savers and not letting lifestyle creep happen, it all landed onto this.
Allowed us to retire early.
So let's unpack these two strategies one by one. So Nadia, you hit us with a term called house hacking. Some people may not be familiar with that term, and they're like, that sounds interesting because you said you bought a building for the same amount of money that you could have paid for a single family home. So most people, the trajectory is go to a good school, get a good job, start your family, and get your house, your starter home or whatever. And you took a different approach. You said, I'm not going to go get a single family to start. I'm going to get a building. So like how many, when you say building, I like how many units and things of that nature, and then kind of unpack for people that term house hacking.
Well, the building I bought has 4 units, right? So what I did was rent out 3 of the units, lived in one, and then I allowed those units to pay me passive income at the same time taking care of the mortgage. Now, when you talk about house hacking, I don't want people to think it's so far out of reach for them. You can house hack if you don't own the property. If you can afford to get a 2-bedroom apartment, if you only need 1 bedroom, do that. A lot of times a 2 bedroom might be cheaper than getting a 1 bedroom, especially in New York City, You have a roommate help you pay the rent. And if you can get that roommate to pay more of their portion of the rent than you do, you're already house hacking. Then you use that money that you're saving and roll that into something else. Maybe you can roll that into actually buying a place of your own and then moving up and scaling your house hacking on that level. It doesn't have to be anything big. You can have a driveway or you can have like garages like I do. I rent out the garages on a monthly basis. That adds to my income. I don't drive 3 cars, I have one. Okay. That's an extra thing. These are small little things that are within your control that if you don't have the means to buy a property, think be creative and you can house hack.
So basically, I'm not sure if most people realize the biggest expense you usually have is where you live. So if you can find a way to lower that expense, you can take the extra money that you have and funnel it into something else.
So now on the money side, the requirements are the same as far as percentage of a down payment, terms of the loan, and things of that nature. And were you all just went at it alone, or did you have like a property manager? Who's you knocking on doors, getting rent checks? Like how did it work?
I'm knocking on doors. I knock on doors and get rent checks because I don't want to split a percentage of my to some management company. But I keep it small. And the thing is, when you keep it under 4 families, like 4 units, you don't fall into the commercial property, right? So you're under a residential. So you fall into the same loan terms as you would if you were buying a single family home. So anything that's 1 to 4 families is considered from the bank point of view a regular loan, right? It's just a matter of how much the mortgage would be. So the way same percentage down, same benefits. You just got to be comfortable of not having an entire house to yourself. But I live in New York City. I'm comfortable having an apartment. If you're comfortable having an apartment, why not have the apartment paid for by other people? It's a lot simpler than what people think. A lot of times you can buy a multifamily house or a multifamily building a lot cheaper than you can buy a single family house.
And Nicole, you followed the same blueprint when it came time to get your building?
Yes, we bought one in Long Island, so we have one tenant instead of 3, but still, same thing applies. We buy a house where you can afford on one income, rent out part of the house, have that rent help pay the mortgage down.
So you got multiple things going on. You said at one point, Nadia, you were able to just be completely rent free because everybody else rent was taking care of everything. And so that frees up cash out of your paycheck that would have gone to somebody else as the landlord or to a mortgage company. And so now that gave you all the space to be able to use your income to go out and get some more assets to collect. Is that how you all played it?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it also allowed me to make the choice to retire early because my husband and I, we live on lower expenses than we bring in, right? So it gave me the freedom to say, look, I want to stay home with my children, retire early, and we have enough income coming in that replaces my income. We can do this. So it allows you to get more choices.